What's up, Star Wars Unlimited fans? It's Luffy here at Late Night Gaming, and we are here for the masterclass for Set 4 that I'm the most excited about. Star Wars Squid Games. We got the Ackbar masterclass coming at you. And I'm first joined by DJClero, who I think we've been playing against each other from time to time for a long time.
Yes.
We both kind of favor some odd decks once in a while.
Oh yeah, indeed. Like I think I've seen you. Like one day I realized like I matched the name and the face and the channel, and it clicked. I was, oh my god, I'm playing against him. Wow. But yeah, nice to be on the channel. Yes.
So DJ is a great Italian player. And what did you do recently with Ackbar?
I mean, it's been like 3 weeks. It feels like a lifetime, but it's recent. I won a PQ in close to my region. It was like a 54 players PQ, so not huge, but not small. And yeah, it was great. Ever since, the deck became more known, more popular.
Yep, and kind of the unwritten rule for master classes is a deck has to win something, and then it has to have somebody else duplicate a top performance, and that brings us to Big O, who is one of the uncontroversial top 10 players in the world. So
yeah, seeing myself on that list was honestly insane. But so yeah, I
tell us about your Squiddy exploits.
Well, I got this message in a Discord server that was like, "Oh my god, someone's just won a PQ with Ackbar and its Data Vault." And I was looking at the list and I was like, "What is this? Like, there's no way this is good." And then I heard it was like 50 plus players, and I was like, okay, maybe there's something to it, but I'm still not going to try it. And then I remember later that day playing on Carabas, and I don't remember what I was playing, but I played against an Ackbar, and I got hit with like turn 2 to turn 4 Coruscant Guard to just clear off all of my ground units while he was generating tokens. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give this deck a try now, because it's got choose sides in and is doing all of this like dumb shit against me. We just got to play it.
Right. And where did you play it at, and how did you do?
Oh, so I ended up playing it at the UK Games Expo on the Saturday, and then ended up going undefeated on the actual Swiss. I think it was 7 wins and an intentional draw at the end, and then ended up finishing top 4 overall in the top 16.
Right, and that was a small tournament, 5-10 players.
I think it was like 120, 130. I don't remember the exact number, but it was in the 100 plus
each day, I think.
Yeah.
So that's almost a 300 player event. So there's been like 3 tournaments in America, 4 tournaments now in America that have that kind of player count. So cheers both. Those that know me very well know I tested a ton of Ackbar Green, and into the Django meta. I was trying to make it be the off kilter kind of hipster deck myself. And shout out to DJ. I never thought about Wedge, which I think opened up kind of the last piece of the puzzle. Our lists were actually a lot closer than you'd think. But I gave it up after Django, just thinking it couldn't be done. And, this guy proves me wrong over in Italy. So shout out to you. All right. So before we go, tell us a little about what made you think of the deck. Why did you actually start looking at Ackbar in the first place, DJ?
Well, I mean, generally when the set starts, I give it a try to most leaders, at least the ones that I think have potential. And I like the idea that you had synergies. I actually Wedge, the fact that you can have a deck with Wedge and especially choose sides, were some of the ideas that I wanted to try out. I'm not really a hero player so much, and I like blue and control, so I never abandoned these cards. But I thought it was it was actually decent against Django tapping other units, but the idea that you could make a deck with a token generator seemed like a fine idea. And I didn't know anyone who had tried the Ackbar. I always try to choose underplayed leaders to see if they can work. And it worked. And then I think I brought it to one of our Italian online tournaments of our channel one night. And I won that tournament before this PQ. And so I started cultivating this, and but again, it's something that I thought had a shot, and I wanted to try. But
absolutely. And then, what was it that drew you to this deck, Big O? Because you could have played literally anything into the UK, but
for me, it was just choose sides. That was the big thing. There are a lot of cards in the deck outside of that I've been looking at trying to make work. like Wedge as well. I played Hera in set 1, so I've been messing with Wedge to like ambush in ghosts and stuff for a while. But yeah, choose sides was really the main one. Choose sides on favorable delegate. I've tried in so many different decks, and this was the one that like really clicked for me. And I also wanted to bring like a more fun deck for one of the days. So for me, this was the fun deck, and I played a bit more of a what I initially thought was a competitive deck on the first day. But I obviously proved myself wrong in that sense.
Well, if people didn't have their Squid games ready, you know.
Facts.
All right, so let's get to the list. So this is the list you made, DJ. First off, what does Frito Misto de Calamari mean?
It's like a calamari pot fry, hot fry. How do you say? Like, you know, when you fry, deep fry, a lot of like different shrimps and like squids together. And like, you know, the meaning in Italy is as if you did the soup, like there's a bit of everything, like, you know, without too much meaning necessarily. And yeah, this is the deck. Like, I don't know if I would like play it card by card. I mean, actually, I wouldn't play it card by card, but that's what like seemed to work most on the weekend. Like, you know, what I wanted to try out. Some of these one-offs are also to try out. And yeah, I mean, as you can see, it's Data Vault. There is a lot of one-offs. So, you know, like some of these are hidden one-offs. But the idea is not to have like, you want a combo deck, but you want to be flexible and be able to adapt to different matchups. And that's one of the good things about the deck is that generally, especially in the earlier turns, but even later, you have multiple options to play out your turn. You're not like confined to play on curve. Actually, you shouldn't play always on curve. And so that gives you a lot of room to adapt to what you're facing.
All right, very good. Let me ask you this. Are you surprised Data Vault is having the performance it is?
Me, I'm surprised. I'm like, yeah, a little bit. Like originally, like, you know, this base was kind of like trash talk. How do you say? Like, and even myself, I wasn't like, I was like, yeah, but like, I will be honest, like, you know, what kind of did it for me is that I always, it sounds stupid and it probably is, but like I always struggle to cut cards past 260. And this was so nice to test out things. I didn't have to cut 250 earlier. And then when I was doing this, I realized that actually the free HPs and the flexible game plans is much better. So yeah, I'm somehow not surprised because in this game, unless your combos are like completely the game changing, there is so much interaction that you'd rather have something like, you know, that allows you to be more flexible and more survivable than not. Like, I mean,
yeah, and I think it's
maybe I would.
I had a very, very good Magic player, you know, that just was looking at set 4 after not playing really from set 1. And I mean, his comment was how bad Data Vault would be. And I think that that's actually known. Like when it comes to Magic the Gathering, you know, adding 10 cards to your deck would be something that would be horrible, you know, to it. But in SWU, there's something different. I mean, the results do not lie. I think that everybody that's big into CCGs would be aware of kind of like the risks of adding cards. But it must be something about the draw 2 resource 1 mechanic that makes it so it's less of an effect because, I mean, it's clearly had great results. I mean, it's now the most represented base and it's converting well. So there's something going on that changes the math. And I think it's really
cool. I thought it was going to be awful. I'm a big stickler for... Right. I'll always keep my decks to 50 in like every game that I've played. Oh, so and I saw the card and I was like, that's never seen play.
But BIgO, I thought everybody in Europe plays like 4 extra cards in their deck. Isn't that what happens?
Nah.
That's one really good player.
Yes, indeed.
But keep going with your explanation.
Oh no, I just thought it was never going to see play. Like, honestly, I thought that the only time it would see play was if we were in like a super control, like hard control meta to just counter mill.
Yeah, I thought it too. And, you know, I think it's clearly better with decks that can heal, and this would be one of them, right? Because there's some restore. I mean, so I expected it that way. I did put my Vader on it because Vader has a bunch of healing with the way I did it. But, I mean, I think there's more going on. I mean, just the Data Vault, the developers probably thought that the 10 extra cards was a big disadvantage. You know, so they gave the extra 3 health, but it does make a big difference. So it's kind of cool how that works. Like, hopefully some mathematician will figure it out as to why it's good in SWU and bad in Magic.
Yeah, like I think like Mo the Monster did a great video about the math of these bases. It's interesting because I don't want to derail too much, but like when the bases were shown, I think like everyone was more excited about Thermal Oscillator or
Right.
Nabat Village, but then those one are nowhere to be seen, at least for the moment.
Right.
So it's interesting. This one was actually the one.
Yeah, and what was
The other way around.
who did the video? I can link it in the description. So you talked about
Mo the Monster, yeah, is a great guy. Like I'm sure like I can find the video. This is where I took inspiration to do all my Data Vault decks. It breaks out the math of all the new bases, and it's when you realize that if you nail the math of your deck, even Data Vault. I mean, probably everyone has realized that, but he said that like long before Data Vault became popular. Yeah, actually, Data Vault doesn't really hit your consistency. So yeah.
Well, send me that video. I will link it. I want to watch it myself too.
Sure.
All right.
I've
And then, BIgO, tell me about the tweaks you made, because you started from DJ's list. True.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. There were a few cards that I saw at like 2 copies that I really wanted at 3 copies that I personally felt were cool cards. So like the Coruscant Guard and the Blue Leaders were the main examples, I think. And there are a few one-offs that I just didn't really understand why they were in the deck. So I kind of just switched some of those around. I think the main change that I made myself was the Bunker Defender. And this was like a really last-minute addition. But it was honestly huge.
That one guy has defended the bunker very well. Is that true?
Yeah, it won me like 2 of my Sabine games in like the 6 that I played.
Maybe that needs to be a 3 of.
Yeah, I really wanted to find space for a second copy. It fills out the 1-drop slot when I want to bring out 2 3-drops from Uwing, and it just kind of generally fills the curve a lot of the time when I'm a little bit like struggling for curve, or on my deploy turn when I don't want to make a token with the front side skill. It can be a bit hard to make the number 6. But yeah, other than that, I just stuck some bamboozles in the main because I felt like the deck struggled a lot more into aggro, and there was a lot of aggro like upgrades floating around, like Darksaber, General's Blade, that kind of thing. So I wanted to have that option, and the pilot leaders, another obvious example.
And after this weekend in America, I don't know if you went with the results, but Vader Yellow has been dominant in the results this weekend. So I mean, Bamboozle's main might just be a tech thing for everything right now. I just switched the Bamboozles into my main in Quinnland, because you have Vader there, and it's also a great card into Sabine. It's a huge punish for Darksaber, and
yeah, absolutely.
That
it was Vader Force was super popular at the Games Expo as well.
Yep,
really took me by surprise.
Right. Yeah, and I think that actually the Bothans have really kind of tweaked that list to be really, really running, very well now. So, anyway, all right, let's talk about our friend the snack bar. I didn't actually use the showcase art. I probably should have, but tell me about using the leader ability. Are you trying to do it on their units typically, or yours when you start DJ?
On yours, 100%.
Yes,
I agree with that.
I mean, maybe 90% on yours, like 95. But yeah, generally, you have that option. So they need to be careful in the late game if they have only one unit. Like sometimes you steal some games, like, or even like depends what you mean by late game, but. If the opponent has one big unit, like one big wrecker,
right.
I have sometimes taken initiative and just exhausted that wrecker. But most of the times, of course, this is a really good trade for you, and a really bad trade if you give the unit to someone else. It's basically you're exhausting a unit to create a token, so you're sacrificing some tempo to get some value. So earlier, you don't need the tempo, you want the value. Later on, maybe you don't need the value all the time, and you want the tempo to swing, and that's relevant as well. Like especially on the flip side, the fact that Ackbar can attack maybe with a gun on top and exhaust the opponent's leader. This is really, really important. Yeah.
You actually stole my next question. Because that's exactly right. Ackbar can hit leaders when he's deployed, and then is Hot Shot Blaster good on Ackbar?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Turns him into an actual threat, really.
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I was going to say. You want to play behind curve for most of the early game and just get as many space units down as you can, and then I think once you flip is oftentimes when you can start like considering using your leader skill on the opponent rather than yourself.
Right. And I've definitely played this more when Django was a thing. I mean, if it's something that's that big, or like a Giganticon green piloted Falcon, but it takes that, right? I mean, really, you don't want to try to use the exhaust unless you absolutely have to, and you're saving a ton.
Yeah, but it does mean the deck doesn't necessarily need that much removal because you have that as like a backup option.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And now, typically, what are you trying to use the ability on under the plan A?
On
Any of your turn 1 plays, really.
Yep.
And are you
typically
playing under curve like a good Ray player would?
Yeah.
Yeah, even more, I would say. Like, I mean, not like, but like, it. If you can, 1 XP is good, but a 2/2 unit is even better. So yeah, if you can like have a 2 or 3 turns under curve, that really matters.
Okay. Let's talk about. You said this was your favorite card, DJ.
Yeah, well, it's his favorite card as well, but it's my favorite.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite cards in the game. Yeah.
All right.
This is my favorite card in the game, hands down. Only card that I bought hyperspace copies of throughout all of like set 1 and 2.
Okay, so let's talk about this kind of at length. What's the idea with 2 sides in this deck?
Well, I mean, it's insane, this card in here. I think it's insane in any deck, but like often you don't have like, it's a card that other decks struggle to have consistency with because you don't have a lot of like useless units generally. Like, you have units that you paid a card to play or that have something that do something. Usually if you play a unit, you don't want it to be bad. But in this deck, you have like a lot of like units that you just got for free basically. And at the same time, you're not an aggressive deck necessarily. You're going to go to turn 7 or something. And so it wins you the game because like the opponent in those turns generally wants to play one big thing, either to stop what you're doing or to put pressure. And with this card, you can swap one of your tokens or one of your favorable delegates or whatever. It's a funny combo. And get their best thing. And so if they play around that card, that's very awkward for them because like it means they can't deploy a dragon, they can't deploy a devastator, it's awkward. And if they actually don't play around that card and you have it, it's really punishing because like usually you steal their whole turn and you give them something very useless. So it's a win condition, I would say, in this deck actually.
Okay. Yeah, 100%. It's had a bit of an identity crisis as a card, like you said. Because oftentimes you give them a good unit by that point in the game, or there's not many decks that can just like free play enough guys to have them stick around, and then want to get to the late game as well to steal those big things. But this is really that deck.
All right. So what's the most common unit you give away? X-Wing?
Yeah, token.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And or otherwise, the nice combo is to give away the favorable delegate, which is the 1/5 that draws you a card when you play it and discards a card from the player that controls it when it dies. So of course, if they get that and then you kill that, they discard the card as well. And I have to say, 2 sides is a pretty triggering card in general. Like that's what I had in my PQ. Like people were not happy to see it. Like they felt really like.
What was the most impressive thing you stole?
Devastator so many times, like especially if they put, or Devastator, like because the big sentinels, they think they are safe. They have to play a big sentinel in space, like or on one, like Luke, or endless times. But especially a sentinel in space, it turns it gives like if you have a bit of a fleet, it leaves them without defenses as well. Yeah.
I had a really fun play with this card in my top 8 match against Quinnland Blue, where I was able to steal a Village Protectors to give me enough actions to lethal him before he lethaled me.
Nice. Yeah, no, I actually recall watching that one. Or maybe hearing about it. Were you on stream then?
I don't think so for that one, but it was extremely close setup.
I heard about it. I heard about it after the fact then because I was aware that happened.
Yeah.
So this is our friend Symbiote. I almost forgot to include it, but yeah. So that's making good deals. I mean, that's what you got to do with Ackbar. You got to make favorable deals by giving them something bad for something good.
We're economists out here.
Right, the Adam Smiths of the world. All right, so blue leader, you guys both identified as a core card. What are you using this for?
Mm-hmm.
It's just so flexible. It's this deck already has like such a good time filling the curve because you want to play under curve. There are some times where you want to play this on turn 2 to immediately deal with the enemy space unit. Sometimes you can play it turn 3 alongside your leader skill, turn 4 as a 5/5 on the ground, and then turn 5 as a 5/5, but also using your leader skill. So the fact that your deck is already like super flexible in the curve, and this adds another layer to that is what's so valuable about it in my mind.
I had as a 2 off in the PQ, and like I don't know what I was doing. Like, you know, this should be a 4 off, 5 off if you can. Like, you know, it's it like, especially in this meta where you have like Kira that is like a big game changer and everything. Like, I don't think there is a single matchup where this is not like a great card. Like, this is like key in every matchup, even if you know it. If in the worst case scenario that you play this and it dies and it just trades, at the end of the day it's a vanquish or it's a sort of takedown. That's not bad in a deck without blue, without removal. Yeah, and 90% of cases it's better than that. So yeah.
No, and it's good, and it can do wild things. I mean, it can ambush in space and then move to the ground. I mean, that's entirely possible and often the right thing to do. You know, it can kill many leaders. You know, if they've attacked into it, it can clean up after an ECL, right? If the ECL record. I mean, a lot of times I find blue leaders my answer to that because you don't want to get hit for 7 the next turn as well.
Of course, yeah.
And good stuff. All right, let's talk about Wedge. And everybody's been trying to make this card work for a long time, and you finally figured out something that really does. What brought you to Wedge?
Well, I mean, I was one of those, like I think everyone in this international room, that if since set 1 like the Wedge and tried to make it work. But so I went with 3 just because in this deck it seemed like to be the perfect match. Like, let's say I forced myself to play 3 and I never found myself in a position where I wanted to cut it to 2 because it actually works. Like the fact that your tokens have ambush is really, really good. On top of like other combos that you can have. Like, I mean, home 1 is not bad with ambush, incidentally, but like is just a really, really good unit to make sure that what you produce can attack other space units, and also the buff is not irrelevant. Like, you know, well, like I think Snoke wasn't very popular when I played the PQ, but in other scenarios there is Snoke, and I faced it like in online, another online thing I played into much earlier, and giving +1/+1 to all your units, that was really key. So it's just like, of course, is like his stats are awful because he can be killed by any sort of removal, whatever. You know, his 5/5 is really bad. It's below takedown, above.
He'd be much better as a 4/6 than a 5/5. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Definitely.
And it dies to Vader, to Maul, to anything. But still is very good because you often have enough actions that you can play him, and the opponent, like before the opponent can actually deal with, after the opponent has run out of things to do.
Yep. And what matchups is he really good?
Vader 4 for sure.
Vader 4, I reckon, yeah.
Well, anything that's
honestly any matchup that he lives a turn in, he's broken in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now,
he's not bad against Kira either, like, you know.
Yep. No, and he's good. I mean, I think he's good against anything that's like lots of space, right? If they're not going into ground, he would have been good against Django, right? Because Django didn't have a lot of ground removal options. It was trying to get you in space.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, what about you? How did this play for you, Bigo?
So interestingly enough, the only reason I kept this card in the initial testing list that I had was because, like you said before, it's your kind of answer to Snoke. In my mind, this was not a card that even the ambush ever came up in. It was just a card that was like, oh, I've developed all of these tokens, and now they start presenting lethal damage rather than just being 2/2s. So to me, this was like the finisher in the deck for a while. And then I started playing the deck a little bit more, and I was like, oh, actually, this card is really good if I can slam it on my deploy turn and then generate 2 tokens with the front side and backside skill. So that's kind of an angle that I started looking for more with the card, because the issue with the card for so long in set 1 was that it was a 5-mana card that kind of said do nothing. Like it didn't do anything on play or the turn that it was played. But because you can action stall in this deck, you can get away with playing it. But also because you can generate 2 bodies alongside this on your deploy turn, where normally you just kind of be playing this and then passing and hoping that it lives the first action of the next turn. It lets you like actually pull off some crazy stuff to take control of the board.
Right. Resistance Blue Squadron. What are you using this for? You identified the Discord.
This kills Devastators, man.
Have you killed a Devastator with this? With one action?
I dealt. I was playing against Yehosera, and I did 50 damage to his Devastator with this card.
That's pretty good.
It was a really long game.
I imagine so.
Wow.
What about you, DJ?
I won the PQ with this killing Devastator, actually. What I did was the same. I did on 1 into this, and then like it wasn't enough, but like I got there with a couple of other traits. Then he played, then he did Palpatine's Return on the Devastator. He killed my own 1.
It was a Clero,
right?
In the final.
Yeah. I swung that into his Devastator, and I played Salvage on my home 1, replayed it, and killed the second Devastator. So yeah, it's like it has like other uses, of course. Even if it does 3 or 4 damage, it's already great because it's for free on a free 4 body. But it can go pretty wild, of course.
Yeah, and if Wedge happens to be alive, it does its thing, and then it ambushes before into space.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it often.
It's at least 6.
Yep. I mean,
I think
if you're there, you're probably 3 for running with it, right? Because if you can kill a thing with the when played, and then also the ambush, and then now they got to do something to get rid of it. You know, great card.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can fetch it with the Uwing reinforcements as well.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Right. And then you also can always order your cards with Uwing too, right?
Yeah. Maybe play a blue leader next to it, and
Instant space answer. All right. Timely reinforcements. First off, I mean, have you pulled this off with Wedge on the board?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I got it up on stream against the Vader Force.
Yeah,
Yep.
I watched that. Yeah. A couple of times.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the more satisfying things in the game is to to delete Vader Force board with timely reinforcements. But what other matchups are you prioritizing this?
This card is so versatilely good.
Yeah.
And I mean, any aggro deck that goes space like Vader 4 is great into, but I also think it's insane into control.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was able to spawn 7 or 8 tokens off this in some of my games. That's how I got the 15 damage off on the Devastator.
Mm-hmm.
Was this plus the Resistance Blue. Like, it just gives you so many threats for one card.
Yeah, it forces like either the opponent has a super laser blast or like has a snoke or something, or like I don't know if I had many games where all these tokens like survive, but like often they have an answer, but if they don't, that's game over immediately. So
Yeah.
I like
and if they do have an answer, it often costs 8 rather than where you spend 5.
I like this right after they super laser blast. Right, I mean,
yeah, that's also insane.
If you do that all of a sudden, against a boss or even Kira. I mean, Kira has barrage, right? But she needs something out. By definition, nothing is out after super laser blast. So
yeah,
I mean, but basically, timely reinforcement. It doesn't technically turn off Power of the Dark Side or Avenger, but it makes it feel really bad.
Oh,
yeah.
Right. Yeah, great card. All right, Sanctioner Shuttle. What are you guys using this for? What is it important into?
Nuts.
It's such a versatile one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
You can play it super early because you get a token for cheap each turn. You get Coordinate life from like turn 2 basically. So against aggro, you can just eat their units, and it's so hard for them to kill it back most of the time unless they burn like an ECL on it, and then they've used ECL on this.
Right. DJ?
It's the same, like, it's crazy against, like, of course, against like lower matchups. Maybe you delayed the super laser technician by 1 round, and that's already enough. But like, but it's really good against, like, the most satisfying is like someone playing a vehicle with Chewbacca on top, if they dare, like, to disrespect your deck completely, and then you still do with this. I had it against Sabine once, like, when I was, and like, that's it. Like, what did you do? Your first 2 rounds are gone now because of this card. So yeah, this is amazing, I think. Again, it's another card. Like, it's not the only deck that plays this card, but every deck that can trigger this consistently does play this card, because it's just really, really good if you can like hit coordinate.
Well, I mean,
and there's so many of these on play like removal or damage, like immediate impact cards that are all adding to our Uwing arsenal.
Right. Because with Uwing, it's probably on, right? Because you likely at least played one other card with it.
Yeah.
Ever capture another Sanctioner Shuttle?
Yes.
Right.
I think I did, yeah.
Yep. No, I had one where I was actually with Wedge out too against Devastator. So I captured the Sanctioner Shuttle. My Sanctioner Shuttle ambushed into the another unit. So 2 for 1 and brought my ship back, which was a blue leader. Though it didn't get to ambush then because it was coming back from capture, but still major swing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Victor Leader is hard to deal with as a card that's hard to deal with. So
that card is
problematic.
Right. All right, our boy Anakin. So what's the ideal scenario for this? Because it wasn't obvious to me till I kind of played with your list a little bit. We'll start with DJ on that one.
The ideal scenario with this, is like you have like 2 or 3 ships in the air, and Sabine played their Wedge. No, sorry, not their Wedge. They played their Wrecker. They nearly killed you, and they tapped out completely. And you've dealt a bit of damage to them, and then you need like an extra 6 damage, let's say, to kill. So you have like, and then you play Anakin Skywalker on one of your units, like you have a bit of a fleet, you attack, then you take it back to your hand, you play it on a different ship, you attack, you take it back to your hand, you play it on a different ship, you attack, and take it back to your hand. I mentioned that scenario about Sabine because, of course, if they remove it, it's bad. But if the opponent taps out, it's really, really good because it can move from ship to ship. So basically, it's as if you gave each of, like, you spend 2 to deal 2 damage, according to how much you have. So if you have like a lot of resources, you can do a lot more of this. So the ideal scenario is not. Yeah.
I won against a very good Han 2-green, red-green Han player, where he snap claimed with a reinforcement walker on the board, thinking he had me on lethal, and there's no way I could add all this damage, but I had done a timely reinforcement. So, I mean, I think I had all my resources spent on Anakin on 4 different ships, which got me over the edge. So it's kind of cool when you get that off, right?
Exactly. Like, if you think about it, like, it's like you can do like, I don't know, 8 damage out of nowhere.
Right.
This is more than for a cause. Like,
and he's fine. He adds 2/3 for 2. So, I mean, if you need to protect a ship, you can be good.
If you want to trade.
Right. All right. So yeah, no, very smart stuff. All right, let's talk about this. Favorable Delegate, and I'll confess, I actually didn't add this to my Ackbar list now, but hearing you guys talk, I will. First off, you said that you're drawing quite a few cards with this. You're typically able to draw during the game.
Yeah, I mean, Delegate is a hard card to kill, honestly. So a lot of the time it just sticks on the board and you get to draw a card for free off it throughout the game.
Right. And then you're trying to, if possible, bring it up with Bright Hope or give it to the other side.
Yeah. I think against a lot of aggro matchups, you can like keep it down because they're hitting your face instead of your units. A lot of the time you can keep it down and just keep using it to generate dudes. But even if they do kill it, by the time they kill it, you've probably generated enough tokens. The discard doesn't matter that much. If you're able to bounce it with Bright Hope, though, that's like so much value. You get like draw 3 basically.
Yeah, that's insane because you have 1, 2, 3, and then you have him again, so you can play him again if you want.
Right. Well, that's the same
Yeah.
thing. And I actually subbed him for Mon Mothma, but I think that you guys are probably right. Now on 9, are you sometimes delegate 2 sides just to like get him to the board and then immediately give him to the other side?
Oh yeah,
That's the dream. That's the dream, honestly.
That's the dream, and is a good, like, you know, you're still running Data Vault, so it's an amazing base, the best in the game, maybe, I don't know. But like, what I mean is like it helps you with your consistency, because you still have 60 cards. So even you wing a couple against control, you wing a couple of those. At least the worst case scenario, you just cycle a couple of cards to look for something good. So it's great.
Yeah, it's very similar logic to like the 2-drop R2D2, just getting you extra cards into your 60 to make it a bit more consistent is really valuable as well.
What are you looking for with that play, with R2?
Very matchup dependent, but like this deck really, because you want to play under curve, you really want to open up multiple 2-drops. So a lot of the time I'm just searching for an extra 2-drop to play so that I can get away with generating a token on turn 2 as well. But like you can pull it in off Uwing and start digging for your top end as well. Like it's a very versatile card again.
Absolutely. All right, so let's talk about some ones that aren't in your list but you're thinking about. What's the idea with Fireball?
Yeah, this is something that I've like tried because, like, you know, Vader Force is not a bad matchup for this deck, but it's a matchup that is very popular. So it's something that I hadn't targeted when I made the deck. I realized that like the 3/2 Phoenix is nice, but it's not like insane. Like is a card that often felt like a little bit awkward. And this one, like, sometimes you'd rather have the Phoenix, but mostly you would rather have this because it's another card that ambushes, and especially against, like, you know, a 1/3 or a ship, the fact that it has an immediate impact is really, really important. So the way I would run this list now, if I had to bring it to an event, or the way I'm running it when I play on for fun, is I've just switched the Phoenixes with the Fireball because I find it a lot more valuable and a lot more flexible. And it's a card that, you know, it felt a bit weird to include it when I made the list without any synergy with this card, which is not Kazuda, but I think it's very good if you have this option against Vader Force and all the space decks.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, and it also gives it much more value pulling it in off Uwing. Like it's just a cheaper blue leader when you pull it in off Uwing versus the current Phoenix squadron.
Well, right, and if it's paired with Wedge, all of a sudden it's ambushing for 4.
Yes, yeah, very true.
And it matches, right? Because 5+2.
But yeah, like any ambush you can have in this deck is great because, you know, we are yellow-green hero at the end of the day. It's not like a blue villain. So, you know, your removal comes from your units and the fact that you generate them. So ideally you want to have your units survive, but even if you trade 1 by 1 and like buy sometimes it's fine.
All right, and this is one, I added one of these in my deck after listening to the Ray Masterclass. But have you thought about Unity Purpose? I think it was a different meta when you guys were there, but now we got Ray Data Vault all over the place. And
I think we had a little chat about this card because it's actually a card we were both considering for the list and for the sideboard. It's one that I brought with me to the event in like a stack of I might put this card in my deck pile.
It sounds like you're a swerver like I am.
yeah, all the time.
I had it in the deck, actually. I cut it the night before because I wanted to fit in attack to go against Quinnland, and I said, like, you know, this is good against Blue Hero, but who the hell plays Blue Hero anyways? And that was before you. And so I cut it. But actually, of course, then I met like I think 2 or 3 Blue Hero decks, and then I was like, I wish I had this with myself. So
yeah, the reason I didn't end up including it was kind of a similar issue was that I didn't have tech in my main board, and I didn't want to play this card without tech, so that I didn't have the option to smuggle it in like later on in the game if I drew it early.
And and that's what it is, right? I mean, I think it can be a one-of, but
yes,
it's like one of those things. If you're in one of the max grind matchups, which would be like a Ray Data Vault or any other blue-green, you know, Data Vault or the Mirror, I mean, I think the mirror is probably a grind if you actually play this.
This card is insane. Like the fact that it comes on 8, it means that it comes like straight after Uwing, so you can do Uwing into this, and like, or even like if it comes after one of your timed reinforcements, if you give +2 or +3 to your units, like if you have a lot of them, it's a card that often you play it, you just won the game. It's just that I think the only reason I didn't include it is because till I had a bit of a prejudice when the deck was around. I didn't really respect blue hero slow decks. And I always, like, you always scared of super aggro, super control. But in a mid-range meta like this is perfect. Like, it's great.
Very, very good. All right, so let's pop into the matchups here. And this is actually the one I want to hear the most because this is what's holding me back from running this at the PQ. What's the game plan into Sabine? Let's start. Well, first off, DJ, did you have to go through Sabine at your PQ? An ECL?
I'm actually curious about what Vigo wants to say because I think he has a better record into Sabine than me with this.
I think we're both looking to him because you did actually get through some Sabines, Vigo.
Yeah, I played 2 throughout the day. I think I beat one of them 2-1 and the other one 2-0. I think this is a really tough matchup, and it's one that I was extremely scared of. Every time I sat down against one, I was like, okay, I'm losing this round, and we'll pick it up from the next one. And then I started doing well against them. The main board Bamboozle was huge for sure. I didn't blow anyone out with it. Like, I didn't have anyone slam Darksaber, I don't think, against me. But it was just really nice to have another option of things that I could use to tap. If they like killed my Grogu or something. It was quite interesting as well because the 2 Sabines I played against, the first one was like only going face, not looking to trade at all.
Right.
And then the second one was like much more looking at like trading down units occasionally, trying to kill my Grogu as soon as possible. So I got like a good range of the spectrum of Sabine players, which was interesting. I found that like a lot of the time you have to play on curve against them. Sundari Peacekeeper was like a lifesaver in that matchup. Right. If I could find Sundari Peacekeeper and Grogu as like opening units, that was amazing. And I still wanted to try and create tokens where I could in the early game, because my game plan as soon as I flipped was to start tapping down their pose and wreckers, because I knew I wouldn't be able to deal with them the turn that they came out consistently. And then I would have tokens that I could trade into the tokens I gave them, so that I wasn't just giving them free damage next turn. And yeah, trying to claim initiative to keep tapping down those big units. And the Han unit was like MVP once I got there. Han unit and home 1 came in super, super clutch.
Like actually casting him as a unit as opposed to an upgrade. Oh, actually, no, you're talking about 7 cost Han, not 5 cost Han, right?
Yeah, once the 7-drop Han came down, I was like, I don't have to worry about these pose and wreckers anymore. I can just start one-shotting them, which is exactly what I needed. But yeah, those guys and Plo Koon as well was like perfect, because I think in all of the games I played against Sabine, I was able to use Plo on 5 resources to kill their leader, which was like absolutely game-changing, honestly.
Right, because then he still has 4 health left, which isn't an easy thing for Sabine to get.
Yeah, a lot of the time that forced out their ECL either on that turn or on the next turn.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, if the Sabines weren't insta-killing Grogu, I mean, that's something that they have to do. I mean, I think that's there. You just kill him till he's dead, and you don't take any damage on your units for doing it. But
I think a big one was that no one opened like 2-drop ground unit into Fleet Lieutenant against me, or at least they didn't have that whilst they had initiative, because if they didn't have initiative, I could at least tap the unit down.
Right. So are you using Ackbar on the opponent unit more into that kind of matchup?
I'd say it's about 50-50.
Right.
Like I say, I'm trying to get a couple of tokens in the early game so that I can trade into the tokens that I know I'm going to give them later on. But yeah, as soon as I get to like 6 resources, I'm probably just starting to tap their units down, especially because it triggers on my leader swing, so I can actually like I can kind of 2-for-1 them. I can kill one of their smaller units and tap down the big one at the same time.
Right. Because Ackbar he is thick. He's got a big butt. He's got 8th health. So,
Yeah.
You know, he'll kill.
He lives a long time against Sabine if they don't burn ECL on him.
Right.
And a lot of the time they can't afford to.
Right.
My experience, like, I didn't play any Sabines in the main tournament. I tested a lot against Sabine. It was like the only matchup that I tested specifically against, because it's something like, it always gives me nightmares, Sabine, no matter what I play. And I noticed this deck wasn't that bad as I imagined. It was like 50-50, but as he said, like, the key thing was to play on curve, like, to forget that you have Ackbar, to be very, very careful. You need to make some tokens, but you can't go too much overboard. And then I did face Han solo ECL in the tournament, in the PQ, which is different, but slightly similar. And I remember in that deck, in the top 8, I won with Plo Koon with a gun and 2 swings. So 8-8, so 16 in 2 actions. After like a long drag game in a couple of actions. So yeah.
I don't know about you in the Sabine matchups, but the card that I found that screwed me over the most was Rebel Assault.
Right.
In the early game. Like, I found a lot of the time, because we have so many ambush units, I have a way to kill either their ground unit or their space unit. But then if they burn Rebel Assault and just like hit me for 10 across both of them, then I can't, like, it doesn't really matter that I can kill the units now. They've already hit me, and then they're going to claim and hit me again. And the one game that I lost into Sabine was they opened like double Rebel Assault on the 5 resource turn and just hit me for 10, claimed, hit me for 10. And that was game, basically.
Yeah, Rebel Assault is like is a deal, like, it's really bad against this deck. I think, like, if they if they go wide as well, if they can afford, like, instead of stacking everything in one place, they go wide. That's better for them.
I mean, I think Rebel Assault is an easy 3 of for Sabine. And my wife actually, just on the way back from this showdown we played, told me it's her favorite card, and she's been playing Sabine since that one. She just top 8'd the showdown, so that's pretty cool.
Nice. Congrats.
All right. Okay. So this is Quinnland. This is Michael's list from Richmond. But what's the game plan into Quinnland? This feels evenish to me, having played it on both sides.
Pass. I mean, BIgO played it more. But
I only played it once.
Quinnland should not allow that. I mean, Quinnland needs to play on turn 1. They should not pass into Ackbar.
Yeah. The time I played against it in the tournament was genuinely my first time playing against the deck, so I was not sure how it was going to go. But I think a lot of the standard Quinnland builds feel quite aggressive, and I feel like you can generally out-control them as long as you don't get hand destruction too much or have your early plays interrupted.
Like, and then at the same time, it depends. Like, it depends how the Quinnland plays. If the Quinnland plays very control, like, they can play control as much as they want, but they have nothing to deal with your space. So you can, like, generate value. And if they play really aggro, they can play as aggro as they want, but, like, you can, like, control their units. Of course, it's not a matchup that you win by itself, but it's a deck that if you can read on what the Quinnland player is doing, and you can bear, through the patience of the first throws, not keeping, like, a hand of on ones. But it does depend as well on the draws. That's what I found against some Quinnlands, because if they discard your hand, then you're forced to the top deck. If you top deck well, all the hand disruption is gone. Otherwise,
so against Ackbar, I mean, if I'm Quinnland, I'm just maxing the discard. I'm playing all of the sparks and all of the gems. And I think
the main blowout comes from the hand destruction. Like, if you can force them down to a couple of cards and just hit a big force throw to take a card out and blow up their unit, then it's game.
Which is the typical play. And then, I mean, you got to try to recover with, like, tech or smuggle, but Quinnland has a lot better smuggle than you do.
Yeah, if you don't, because you're 60 cards as well, if you don't find your Uwings and home ones by that point, then you're really struggling.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. But Quinnland starts the game -8, right? So you can body some stuff, and it's difficult to discard while doing a lot of damage as well. Those things are kind of
That's what I like. That's where Anakin comes in, like in my small experience, comes in like handy because like they can't really handle your fleet going wide. So if you could like play slightly under curve, like that's kind of if you and you have a couple of like a 0-5, a 1-5, like your units are not like necessarily the best one they want to target in town or that are easy to target in town. So you generally can get a bit of space against Quinnland, but again,
Right.
it's a matchup that depends on how they.
And Anakin lets your tokens kill Red 5 and Falcon, which are both like huge in the matchup, I think.
Right. Now we'll see whether Clear the Field appears more in Quinnland, primarily for Vader, but that's not a good thing for Ackbar either.
Yeah, that hurts. That hurts.
All right. Han, this is Alex's list, who's a KTOD player, very good American player.
Of course.
What are you looking into, like a Han green build? First Han, yellow green Han.
I mean, this is where Bamboozle is very potent again. Obviously for the pilots, but even just as a way to answer the Han leader flip to stop the 7-drop coming down.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that's true. Like, yeah, I mean, this is like is a deck that I don't have a lot of experience from the tournament with, but is a deck that I've played more online. I feel like it's two different decks, right? Like there are times where the deck ramps really, really aggressively and tries to kind of control, and then there are times where it goes like it plays all their eggs in one basket. So if you place their eggs in one basket, once you deal with that basket, generally is better. If he plays a control game, it's just like a normal control mirror, I would say. Like, not control mirror, but you understand, like it's a normal mid-range game.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think that good Han, and you guys probably don't have to deal with as many of them, based on results as we do, here, because we got some very great players working on this deck. But I mean, they shouldn't be going the pilot everything on Falcon strategy against you. I mean, that's disrespectful to Sanction or Shuttle.
Yeah, the second you get initiative in that matchup as well, when they're doing that, you can just start tapping it down for free.
Right. All right.
Other than that, it's just about as most in my small experience at least, dealing with Vader dealing with Han on the flip turn. That's key, of course.
Yeah.
All right. What about Blue Green Hero? This is Pascale, who won a PQ the day after Yacero, finished Lille. It's his list.
Nice.
What are you looking to do against Ray? That's going to be an extremely grindy matchup. True.
It is, yeah.
Okay, so what's the game plan?
Choose sides, steal Luke. That's the plan. Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
I think it gets a little bit tricky if they ramp. Like the game when they ramp versus when they don't ramp is so different.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they don't ramp and you find choose sides on 7, you kind of just win. But if they do ramp, they can start to like output damage a little bit faster onto you with things like the Fleet Lieutenant and the earlier deploy. That can make it a little bit harder to catch up. But I think overall it's pretty favored for Ackbar because you have a lot more value. And you have like equal small units that can kind of just hit each other a little bit.
I mean, and then they don't even run home like redemption a lot of the times. Like they of course it's annoying when you have like a. But I think my list compared to his list is even greedier. So in terms of like, which means it's worse against me. But it's like, but against this kind of matchups is. In the end of the day, you have more value than Ray. Like you spend a unit to produce one resource to produce a unit. They spend a resource to produce a +1 token. So if you have enough patience, of course, choose sides out. But like in the hand, like yes, they can like stall in the ground. But if you can make a lot of ships as well as the ground, you can outvalue them long game. It's a game of patience. Sorry.
They don't have very many great ways to deal with space. I mean, it's why a lot of lists are running entrenched as well. So a lot of the time you can just resistance Blue Squadron and kill their leader on flip because you have like 5 or 6 space units by that point.
Right.
Yeah, what I wouldn't do against Ray or probably against anyone is trying obviously to race them to base, and then like, oh,
Yes. Yeah.
who is
You
this
got to
girl that
focus on
kills
the
for?
board.
Right, oh, right. And that's exactly, and I think that generally practice tip against this deck is any like 2-for-1 ground ambush where you have blue leader, you have Plo, anything that kills their chumps, right? Because letting them have like that C3PO on the ground in particular is a huge problem, right? Because if they're drawing every turn, they're eventually going to find all of the Lukes and home ones. But they only have so many threats. They have the 3 Lukes, they have the 3 home ones, and then the Uwings, which is really trying to find Luke.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if you out the Lukes and you out the home ones, they don't have a great way to finish against you because they're not going to get through space. And what's going to kill you on the ground other than Luke? Yoda? It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
All right. This is the Bothan list, Vader Yellow. This is a great deck and a super budget-friendly deck. So, shout out to the people kind of making this go. But Ackbar's fairly good into it compared to some things. True.
I was quite scared of this deck, honestly. I found that if they opened 2 1-drops, I really struggled. Like if they only open like a 1-drop in a Victor Leader, the Victor 2 guy, to make a token, then it's okay because you have so many ways to deal with just 1 space unit and it stops all of their token generation. But I was actually quite scared of the deck. If they open like double 1-drop into Victor Leader, it's the game can get away from you. I think in hindsight, I should have been sideboarding the Eager Escort fighters to deal with Victor Leader.
That's what I've added as well, yeah.
Yep, and it is that, and
100%.
I think this is the Bothan list, but I think really what they did is just kind of went all in on the 1-drops. They're playing the Droid Starfighter, which I never had that on my bingo card in a meta deck of playing. It's like a 1/2 Saboteur. But I think you're exactly right. Because if they play 2 1s, you can't deal with them, and they start the tokens.
Victor Leader, Clone Combat Squadron are just the 2 cards you have to look out for and figure out ways to deal with, to be honest.
Right.
And from there, it's like find a bamboozle for the Vader flip, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's a deck that you have options to win against this deck because you have a lot of space units that enter that you can generate for free. But it's still a deck that requires a lot of attention. Like, it doesn't forgive you any small mistakes. Right. It's a deck that I think is less popular here maybe than it is in America, but you see this list with a bunch of like commons. It's really scary. Nevertheless, you need to play like
now tier 2. But yeah. I think 2 PQs were an hour away from each other. Both with Vader.
It's another one of these decks where you need to be careful. And on the one hand, you need tokens, especially if you can do them with ambush with Wedge. But on the other hand, you need to focus on what is there first. Like, you can't get too cute making your tokens and ignoring what the opponent is doing on board.
Yep. And are you early on? Are you focusing primarily on just controlling space?
Yeah.
If you can, yes. If you have the cards to do it, yes.
Yeah, and as far as Wedge goes, just looking at this list, there are outs to Wedge. The only good one is Barrage. Other than that, they can waylay it.
Waylay is effective, but it's waylay or Barrage really.
Right. But they can no good to be dead him all they want. That's okay.
I think Barrage is. If they barrage your Wedge, it's kind of a waste of resources for them. Waylay is really hurts on Wedge, I think.
Yeah.
All right. This is the Han red-green Data Vault version, which is probably more popular here. I think Swoop Racers actually have an ECL that's much faster and kind of a little different deck, but with some of the similar things. What are you looking to do into red-green hero, mostly Han?
It's funny because like in my PQ, I think I had like 4 different matchups against Han Red, and none of them against this version. But it's still like it's still like most like the big difference between this and the ECL one is that generally this deck plays 1 unit per turn. So they are decent units, but they are all units with low health, so that they can they can die to your ambush units. And what you can do is you can play under curve and make a token as at this and at the same time deal with their board. So generally, what you want to do is try to trade with what they have, and then at the same time develop a board. This is a general advice, but against this deck, I feel like it's possible to do it because their units are good, but they kind of let you develop a bit of space. And if you see, they don't have a lot of answers in space, really. Like, I mean, they have some, but they don't have like a ton of things they can do in space.
It's the one thing that might choose sides you right back. that happens.
That hurts. Like, of course, like, you know.
But,
like you might have like to play like timely reinforcements before they get to the dragon, because if they get to the dragon, then your only way out is choose sides, and if they choose sides back, like but yeah,
everybody takes
you
sides,
can't
and that's
rely.
what happens.
Yeah.
I think the scary thing to me about this deck is they have like such good early board stabilizers with cards like Red 5 and Podamron, the 5 cost primarily, that like you have to answer those threats as soon as possible. And then they also have like insane top end with the Dragon, Walker, and Home One that you need to choose sides for. So it can be probably quite tricky to balance that, but I think it's an okay matchup still.
Yeah, no, it's a very back and forth. I mean, I think Poe unit
like
is also a big problem, right? Because Poe unit can come down very fast. And
I think
sorry, go ahead.
I think you can win the late game against this deck, but you just have to not take too much damage on the way there that a dragon just kills you.
Right. And Crate Dragon, I mean, you basically have to have choose. There's no real good out for Crate other than that. Maybe if you have a bazillion X-Wings, maybe
you got Waylay as well. Yeah. But yeah, choose sides.
You have Waylay as well, like, you know, or I mean,
it delays your
you can exhaust the dragon, like, you know, if your board is decent, like, you know, for one you can just stab the dragon, but you can't play anything else. Or you need to play on space. And one good thing is that the Poe token, like, you know, when Poe enters as a 4/5, it's technically you can steal it with the Sanctuary Shuttle. So if they go for that play and you have that, that's usually pretty, like, you know, pretty good for you.
All right, Cad Bane. This is a Tarkin town, but I mean, I think Cad is being played in a couple of different ways here, but generally pretty good. What's your plan?
I think against this matchup, you have better late game than them, so you're okay to do the whole pass thing. And they're probably wanting to play a unit into you. So I think you can dodge the ping Tarkin town turn 1. But you also have like really good resilience against Cad Bane in general, I think. Because you have so many 2-drop X5s, like you have Grogu, you have favorable Delegate. And even R2D2 is 4 health, which is great. And then you're also playing all of these 2/2 tokens for 1. You have like so many ways to spread the damage that it doesn't, other than the actual Tarkin town, it generally is okay. And yeah, once you hit late game, you just start dealing with their 7-drop cards, and I think you're absolutely fine.
Yeah, like Cad Bane is a bit nasty because of course it can steal the tokens and you'll never see them back. And even if you choose sides, Cad Bane back is not. But still, the thing is, it's their only late game, and at the end of the day, it's just a unit with 7 health. So I think, like, you know, as a couple of wings and ambush kills it, like, you know, sometimes it's enough to do 3 damage with a Coruscant Guard off a Uwing to finish off a Cad Bane that was there, and then you find 4 damage on the way. What I mean is, like, as he said, if you can get to the late game, it's generally very good. The only thing, of course, you need to watch out for Zakus. This is really but that's the only unit I don't want to see in that game otherwise.
Yeah.
I think the scariest part about this deck for me is probably just the fact that the leader's so tanky. It's 8 health.
Right.
And if they can stick a blaster on it, they can start hitting you for some substantial damage. And you're probably going to have to sink like 2 Sentinel or Ambush units into it to actually kill it. So that's probably something to watch out for. But
particularly, and now actually I think the list has evolved that it's playing a lot of, now there are 2 of them. So turn 2 boss can be a big problem. in addition to Circus. So if they get one of those on a turn,
if they high roll with that, then it's tricky.
And then all of a sudden you're dealing with ambushing forlums with Saboteur, which isn't fun.
Yeah.
All right, Kira. This is what won the U.S. regional, or the North American regional, I should say. I had all sorts of friends from Canada there. Good deck.
Who's list?
Yeah, Wu is a good content creator and friend, and has been for a while with me. But
he was playing.
He's a monster. You don't want to play Wu if you can avoid it. But what are you looking to do into Kira? Those matches are going to go long.
Every time I've sat down against Kira with Ackbar, I've had the biggest grin on my face because this matchup is so fun and so favored in my eyes.
Same.
You just have so many tools to deal with what they want to do. And sure, they have, you look at the bottom row of the 60 card deck list on the screen, you see all of that top end, and you just know that Ackbar has better top end somehow. Just because of choose sides, like the value you get from that card is so insane.
That's what we did with the key art here, right? Stealing Star Destroyers is what you're trying to do with choose sides most of the time,
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and 100%. I faced 3 of them in the PQ, both final and semi-final, and that's probably why they went well. Because it seems weird, but you have so many ways. You have 6 cards. I mean, I had 5, but if you play 3 blue leaders as you should, you have 5 cards that can just ambush into Kiran, and when you can't, you have a 4/3 echo-based defender still. They can get barrage value, but the only thing you shouldn't do against Kira or against any control deck is to think that you are aggressive and you need to hit base. And you play you dump all your hand before they play Super Laser Blast. That's not gonna fly. But if you can keep a couple of units on board and make sure that they never have a spectacular Super Laser Blast, you always have something to come back. The Super Laser Blast is really good. I think the only game I lost against Kira in the Swiss, I went 2-1, is when they played Relentless.
Right.
And I didn't have enough. If you main board Bamboozles, that's great.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think actually the main board Bamboozle comes into play into Kira just because of an excellent, somebody that's going to be in the top cut with Kira is going to know to bring in Relentless. The other thing that's not in this, I've been doing the same matchup slides. This list is out of date. Most of the Kiras now have Snoke because of Vader, which makes it a little harder, right? Because then it's kind of a hard check immediately for choose sides if you don't have it, or you don't have anything that survives. Sometimes if you don't,
that's where you definitely want to find a wedge if you can.
Right.
Yeah. Or that's why you want a Han Solo or the guns. None of this finishes off, but you can dump a couple of units into Snoke if you need to.
Right.
And that's useful. But of course, you have answers, but it in a way it burns one of your choose sides that you would like to keep for something else. So it's a bit annoying for that. But
yeah, in general, you have so many answers for that deck. Your leader skill blanks Power of the Dark Side, which is such a huge value tool in that deck. You have Kira to blank Super Laser Blast later on if you have a board established. And you have choose sides to just take over late game.
I mean, I haven't thought about this as Kira. I just play Woozless when I play Kira. But, I mean, I wonder if they actually should side out Avenger and Power of the Dark Side. I mean, it's just such a bad play pattern in the
maybe. I mean, Avenger is still an 8/8, but Power of the Dark Side probably not ideal. But but I mean, I don't know. It makes sense. One thing that you can do as well that doesn't come up very often, but for that top end, you can always exhaust it with Ackbar. If they get greedy and they you don't have an answer and they do an overwhelming barrage on a elephant, what's on the Walker, you can still tap it. Yeah,
it does kind of look like an elephant.
Also, your leader is leader is really hard to kill in that matchup outside of Super Laser Blast and Rival's Fall.
Oh, that's exactly right. I mean, because the Maul.
Yeah. Because they are geared to do 8, to do 7, so even their Vader +2 or their Maul never gets to 8. So that's fine.
Right. All right. Last matchup, hard control. I mean, I put Boss Blue here. There's other hard control decks. There's yellow blue hard control. But what are you trying to do?
I played this too.
Yep.
Sorry. No. I played a few Iden. I said never against Bosk Blue specifically. At least not that I remember of. I mean, probably online sometimes, but it's. I mean, it's very similar. It's another matchup where you don't really win by slamming them on base. It requires a lot of patience, but at the end of the day, I mean, they can invest all their resources to kill your Grogu or your Delegate or something like this. But if they do, good. If they don't, you can use them to generate more tokens. And in this case, like it's even easier because you can really keep all your two sides just for that the Snokes or the Avengers. Like, you know, it's 4 cards, you know, and you have like so many two sides.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you are gonna like have like mind, like it takes quite a few of patience, like a lot of patience. I think once I played against Aiden, and I won on one of the last turns without any cards in deck or something.
Right.
I had like finished cards in deck for a couple of turns, and then like I had home 1 taking back Wedge after a timely reinforcements. Like, so it's gonna go late, but eventually you're gonna outvalue even a crazy deck like this. So
Yep. And if you just look here, look at all the 1-to-1 removal. Like, you know, you have
exactly.
half the deck.
A matchup like this is all about card advantage, and your leader is giving you free cards.
Right.
There you go.
And you want to go wide, which is what the specialty of the deck is. You know, so I do.
Yeah, if you can Plo Koon on Bosk, you know, actually the Bosk body is the hardest thing to do. Like a 4/6.
I think that if you have like I'd have to ask. This is Duncan's list, who's a team secret player, but he was right outside the top cut of the Richmond sector, which was just the biggest U.S. tournament until Minnesota. But I think that the best plan is to try to mill you, which is what it sounds like the Idens were doing there.
Yeah.
But that's hard to do through a Data Vault deck, and it's hard to do through a deck that plays stuff like Home 1, you know, that pulls from your discard pile, because eventually you're pulling gigantic threats along with the Home 1, you know, when it comes out.
Yeah.
And then when they do play a Snoke or a Palpatine, there's just so few, you probably do have the two sides for it.
Yeah. I mean, eventually, I mean, they can, like, you know, maybe they can aggro you out, but like, I think the only risk that you can have against a deck like this is that you feel that the matchup is so good and that you start cutting all the cards against them. But if you like, if you just like, if you respect the matchup and you still play it, most likely you're gonna win against Bosk.
All right. That's excellent stuff. So what I want to ask you is this. I mean, I think that, you know, both of you in a way, but certainly, you know, DJ, you know, you did the CCG dream of like making a deck nobody thought could win, you know, all the way through a PQ. So I'll phrase the question to you this way. As you're getting ready for this event, you know, first off, are you testing this list significantly before you play it?
I mean, depends what you mean. I tested it a lot more than I normally test, but like, you know, not as much as probably I should. I tested it like online on Petronaki to understand what worked and what didn't work, and then one against specific matchups, mostly Sabine or like other matchups, I had like tests with people I know that I trust for like a couple of hours on an afternoon. So like, let's say 6 hours of targeted testing and 2 weeks of casual, like, well, I mean, I was brewing it a little bit, like, you know, let's say a month of on and off every now and then casual testing, and then 6 weeks.
I want to say you were the only Ackbar green mirror I had forever ago. So you must have been working on it there, because I remember actually finding one, because I was the only one playing Ackbar, usually with the game name It's a Trap. You know, and then I saw somebody else playing Ackbar Green, and I immediately matched it. So I do think that was
I
way back
probably, but I mean, when I mean like casual, I mean like maybe, you know, 2 evenings in the week after work, just like this. So and then like a week of more dedicated testing, something like this.
So what made you think it was good enough to win? I mean, when you're thinking about that, because I mean, you like.
I didn't think it was good enough to win. What I mean is like I like I generally I bring a new deck to every tournament, and I wanted to try this one out, but I didn't think I would win. Like it was the deck that I was enjoying playing at the moment, and I thought it was good enough that it was worth taking the train and maybe not go 0-6, but it was. It was just observing that it had game against other decks, and I felt like on a good seat, on a control seat, when I was playing I didn't feel like shattered playing into other decks. That was enough for me to bring it to the field.
No, and I think it's really cool seeing hero control at all. So shout out to you and US Hero too, because I mean Ray is a control deck in a way. It's all defense. But so turning the question around differently then to you. I mean, if you're thinking of something that had recent success, how do you go about preparing for the tournament in pretty short order between DJ winning and UKGE? How did you go about getting ready for it and tweaking it to your own?
So, my testing process is really unhealthy. I really struggle playing online in general because my attention span is not it. And I don't have very many people in person that I can play with. So I tend not to test in general unless I get like super, super obsessed with a deck. And then I'll play online until like 5 a.m. every night and just go on like 2 or 3 hours sleep for a couple weeks.
So it trained you to like do this masterclass because you guys are staying up real late to let me do the showdown, which I appreciate very much. Both of you let me play the showdown today by delaying the start time.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, so this was a 5 a.m. deck for me. I saw like I said, True Sides is my favorite card in the game, and it let me run a bunch of other cards I love. So I was grinding it until like 5 a.m. for a couple nights. And then in terms of like tweaking the list, there were a few I'm a really big fan of one-offs in general, but there were just a few that I didn't understand, so I figured I'd take them out. But all of the ones that I liked, that I almost wanted to put more copies of, I just kind of trusted and kept playing, and I could never find a card that I wanted to take out to add more copies in. I think my main question was like, there were some cards that I really disliked that friends kept telling me to keep in for the event because they were like, no, that card is really good, you're just not playing it right. And then it came up throughout the event that those cards were really good, and I was like, oh, okay, thank God I kept these in. So like some of it was just trusting friends' judgments, and some of it was like ruthless 5 a.m. games for some reason.
Well, that's well. I'm probably playing against you at that time. All right. So this has been great. I mean, I appreciate both of you guys. Doing this masterclass. Any final words for the ambitious squidders out there? We'll start with you, Bigo.
First thing, go subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's BIgONotation. See it below.
I want to. I was gonna make sure to do that for you. So you're a better YouTuber than me. Remember they asked that. But what else?
But yeah, honestly, like, highly recommend playing the deck. It's super fun to play. It's super skill intensive. It is a good deck. I wasn't confident in it until I played it at the actual event, but yeah, it's really good. So you just got to stick with it if you want to make it work. And I think that goes for like any deck that you want to make work, like outside of Ackbar. If you want to make a deck work, you got to stick with it, like DJ has done here. And then you'll show up with a PQ and everyone will be like, what the fuck? Like, some dude has just won with Admiral Holdo or what, something.
So shout out to Alan at KTOD. You know who you are. He actually beat Alex the Greatest at a PQ with Holdo. That is a true statement. But yeah. I can't agree more. And I want to actually highlight that too. I mean, it takes a little bit to get used to doing decks that like play under curve. And hero control is kind of relatively new. So I do think that you need to actually get the hang of it too, because the play patterns here are not the same as kind of like a linear Han deck, Han 2. You need to actually know when to be going there. And I think that some of your insights on when to play on curve and when to play under curve maybe was what some of us Ackbar people are missing on the Sabine matchup. So I appreciate that. Final words, DJ?
Final words. What can I say? It's 3 a.m. for me. I will keep them whispered. But no, it's as you said, it's a deck that can be counterintuitive, but it's very rewarding. And I want to pick up on what BIgO said. Is Ollie that that's very true of many decks. Like we have such a wide card pool, right? That like you can try to make most decks, if not all leaders, work. It's just a matter of patience, trying out, and also finding the right moment. Like, I don't know if we're going to meet each other in September. It's still a great moment for Ackbar, but right now it's a moment for Ackbar, and then maybe I think it's a moment where it's decent, and then other moments, other leaders that you might build wait, because their moment is going to come sooner or later at some point.
I kind of like some of the events I saw in set 5 for Ackbar. I mean, like the Sentinel one, that taps a guy. I mean, there's some stuff there. So thank you guys.
Cool. Yeah.
So thank you guys so much. Anybody who's listened this far, you're a hero. This is an excellent masterclass, and I love seeing the Squid Boy getting there. Certainly, BIgO has a YouTube channel. Link is in the description. Give him a like, subscribe. Everybody on Late Night, I'll put it in our Discord. And then DJ, you're a member of Darth Players.
I forgot. I'm not a member officially, but like they're my very good friends. I put them in my logo here. I'm one of their very frequent guests. I'm always there on their channel. So yeah, and they're amazing. The Italian guys. Yeah. And I subscribe to that one as well.
Yeah, I actually saw your follow up with them and commented on it right after this, and then I actually watched a bunch of their other stuff. But the scene in Italy
were very happy.
Is pretty good for SWU, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah,
I've heard that before.
We have a great community, and they're amazing. Like they were like, let me say, like I'm sure they're happy if they listen this far. But like they were amazing in building this community in Italy, because it's not really easy to build like a community from the ground. But like this is absolutely incredible. So yeah, shout out to this YouTube Discord.
All right, and will I see you guys both in Vegas in July?
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
So make sure to say hello to me sometime. I'll get you a token. I'm not going to pay international shipping.
Of course.
But appreciate it very much. This is the end of Squid Games SWU edition. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll catch up with another masterclass soon.